Stay tuned for more after the show. Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Jacks of All Fandoms. I'm the Average Joe, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Nick by Night.
May the 4th be with you!
That's right, we are recording on Star Wars Day, and given the context, I believe it's fair to do an episode on which Star Wars characters could lift Mjolnir.
Indeed, indeed. The most powerful symbol of worthiness and heroism. Heresy? No.
Burn Thor at the stake.
No, heroicism of the Marvel universe. And of course, you have to be very virtuous and just a noble warrior in order to even possess it. Like, some of the best heroes of the MCU or the Marvel universe in general have not been able to lift Mjolnir. So which characters in the Star Wars universe can cut it?
Yes, now to pull this off... Oh crap, I need my phone. I have the list over here.
I've got my list as well.
Okay. So to determine a level of worthiness, we have a list here which we definitely did not steal from Needle Mouse Productions.
Not at all.
Yes, so it's the philosophy from the Norse, I believe, for the 9 virtues of nobility. And these were directly inspired by Odin, so what better way to determine whether a person is worthy? This includes courage, honesty, honor, fidelity, discipline, hospitality, self-reliance, industriousness, and perseverance. And then there's also the 3 commonly accepted guidelines on the topic. Humility and compassion, a warrior spirit, which means they're willing to kill but not bloodthirsty, and the acceptance of a higher power out there. So I believe we have 10 characters to talk about, and then we each have 5 characters that we are going to surprise each other with. We haven't told each other what we got.
No, I'm excited. I'm really excited on a few of my choices.
All right, so let's get started. Number 1, Luke Skywalker.
Of course, the Big Daddy himself.
Technically, the Big Son himself.
Big Son himself, right? You know, Big Daddy's not on this list. Spoilers. Yeah, I think a few younglings might have to disagree with that if we put him on the list.
And a few generals who were killed by his war crimes.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Like, he's rather negligent all around. His son's cool, though.
So would his son be worthy?
Let's see. Well, he's very courageous. We've seen that on basically him wanting to, save the galaxy from tyranny. Of course, blowing up the first Death Star, trying to save his friends, even in spite of his training, because, when he left Yoda's training a little early to help him and help his friends. So that's definitely courageous. Honesty, yeah, I don't think he's ever lied to anybody. Honor, yeah, definitely honor bound.
Yeah, he's got his own code, and then, fidelity. I mean, I feel like every Jedi is gonna pass fidelity with flying colors, just because they don't really form attachments, so they're not really running around like that.
True.
Discipline. I mean, maybe not at first, but by the end of the trilogy, he's definitely very calm and very disciplined in what he's doing.
Oh, we definitely saw that at the end of... Spoilers for somebody who hasn't seen it yet, but if you haven't yet, what are you doing with your life? The ending of The Mandalorian. That is definitely a disciplined and amazing Jedi, a Luke Skywalker, that we saw at the end of Mandalorian. So definitely 100% we've got discipline in the bag.
Yeah, another one that I feel like a lot of Jedi are just going to breeze by is hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
It's just part of the code. Just love other people, help them however you can. Self-reliance. I mean, he does technically learn a lot of what he does because of his failures, so that's kind of just him making his own way and forging his own path.
The greatest teacher failure is... And of course, industriousness. I'm not sure of the definition of that one.
Neither am I.
We're gonna say he does it.
Yeah, let me Google it real quick.
Yeah, I was about to say we might actually want to have the definition of this for when we keep going through these.
Okay, industriousness. Constantly, regularly, or habitually active or occupied. Diligent and industrious worker.
Okay, so like pride in his work, basically continuously. Yeah, I'd say Luke has that. He wants to save the galaxy and, of course, rebuild the Jedi Order and make
Which he did. We're not counting the new canon.
No, I mean, technically he did that in the new canon, but it's just extremely glossed over.
In the same way that Jack Sparrow was a captain for 13 years.
Fair
Except
enough.
He wasn't.
Yeah, okay. And perseverance. Yep, he never gives up. We're not counting episode 8.
I'm sorry. I feel like we probably shouldn't spend this whole time just crapping on the sequels, but it's just so freaking easy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we're gonna kind of make up for it later in the list. No spoilers, but
He says as he's about to spoil it.
yeah, no, I won't say it. We'll get to that when we get to that.
All right, so then there's the 3 accepted guidelines: humility and compassion. He's got that warrior spirit. I mean, he was a general in the war, so, you know, he probably killed a lot of people.
He definitely killed a few stormtroopers.
Think of all the people he killed on the Death Star.
Oh yeah, like there was probably a bunch of people on that Death Star.
And the acceptance of a higher power out there.
The Force.
Again, a lot of Jedi are going to bring.
Yeah, I was about to say that's just kind of like the Jedi mantra there.
Yeah. So yeah, Luke passes with flying colors.
And now from Luke to his twin sister,
Leia Organa Solo.
Nobility, indeed. Courage, absolutely. Given the fact that she is literally the spokesperson for the Resistance and the pretty much, I'd say the organizer for the Resistance for most of it.
Well, yeah. I mean, even with the rebellion, she was raised as a princess, so she has this honor.
I just said Resistance, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Oh God, no!
I thought that's what you were talking about.
I was talking about the rebellion.
I thought you were giving the new material the benefit of the doubt.
I will give the new material the benefit of the doubt because in the Resistance, she was definitely the figurehead of the Resistance as well in the new series. I am giving them the benefit of the doubt, aside from that stupid Mary Poppins thing at the end, in the middle of it.
She watched Guardians 2 and was like, "Here, hold my beer."
Okay, the Guardians 2, actually, he died in space, and it was sad.
Fair.
So, like, okay, no, but I was about to say, we make jokes, but, no, in all seriousness, she was actually a decently written character in the sequel trilogy. I will give the sequel trilogy this. She was decently written.
For the most part.
For the most part, yes. And, honesty? Yeah, I'd say honest.
Definitely.
Considering the fact that she is 100%, yeah, again, I don't think she's ever lied or used deception in any of her, endeavors.
I mean, she does technically because she's a double agent as a member of the Senate.
Fair enough.
But, you know, at the same time, that's for the greater good. It's just not in her character to just go around lying.
Indeed. Honor.
Again, Princess of Alderaan. She has a great moral code set up because of her father.
And there was actually this, I think it was this tie-in comic. It actually was part of the Disney canon, where she actually found like a bunch of Alderaanians, and she's essentially trying to create a safe haven for them throughout the galaxy while also balancing this. So I honestly think that that was an interesting thing. Like, the story was okay. It wasn't anything special, but it was like that part stuck out to me, that she's, you know, still the princess of her people. I guess queen at this point, because well, I don't think her adopted father is around anymore.
Okay, on that note, we can also take hospitality on the list.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Self-reliance. Yeah, she was pretty much on her own, like, in the middle of enemy territory on the Death Star. Definitely self-reliant.
Same for industriousness and perseverance, I'd say.
Indeed. Humility, compassion, and the warrior spirit. And I'd say, check, check, and check.
Yeah. Does she believe in a higher power?
I was about to say, like, in like, extended universe canon, after episode 6, she becomes a Jedi, so I guess that technically would count as the Force. And I'm pretty sure she said, "May the Force be with you," before, so I guess. So definitely she believes in the Force. I think Han is probably the only one who, like, is a skeptic and doesn't really believe, even though he literally sees a bunch of dudes, like, lift things with their minds, so he can... I'm like, you're kind of being a little overly skeptical for something you've literally seen with your own eyes.
You know, I do remember one comic which kind of explored Han's skepticism and gave him this writing on the wall moment. I think it was in the Marvel Star Wars run, but in the story, he had hijacked a AT Walker and was rampaging around the base, shooting stuff up, and then Vader walks into the room and used the Force to dismantle the entire thing. So while Han is inside of it, he's just watching the whole thing be destroyed.
I do remember this, yeah. Because, like, I think Leia was with him, and she sees him on the battlefield, and she's like, step on him now. Like, they did try to just legit step on him, and then, like you said, he just dismantles that thing with his mind.
So we're all in support of Leia then.
Yep, Leia, definitely 100%. I kind of, like, envision her with, like, the Jane Foster armor, but, like, the helmet instead of the wings just has the buns. I was about to say, like, that's pretty funny. That visual, I like that. Just, like, works so well for me. Just instead of the feathers, like the wings, he just has the buns on the helmet. Let's see. Any fan artists out there who wants to do this? Like free. I give you free permission. Use that idea.
Let's hope we get more than 30 views this time.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. Let's see who's next on the list. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hello there. All right. Well, I guess with the Jedi Order, and he's probably one of the best Jedi. Definitely the best Jedi who survived the Purge.
Yeah, that's true.
Courage. Well, given his veracity in the Clone Wars, he, like Anakin, is basically leading his troops instead of sticking behind. I'd definitely say courage is a no-brainer for that one.
Yeah, and then honesty.
Ooh, that one's shaky.
Mm-hmm.
Given the fact that he's just like, well, I'm not going to tell you, Darth Vader. I'm going to, use selective language here. Yes, your father is dead because of Darth Vader. I'm not meaning it literally, more like theoretically.
Figuratively.
Except he wasn't even right about that because, he turned good at the last second.
Actually, that was one of the points I was going to bring up. I feel like Obi-Wan might have a chance at it, but old Ben Kenobi might have lost his worthiness over time. Yep. He's just a little too jaded and a little too cynical.
Fair enough. So, and people have, in the comics, have lost their worthiness over time. So I guess we're specifically talking, Clone Wars era Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes. And I also should probably mention... What was it I was going to say? I feel like I lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me later, probably.
As it usually does. whenever we have these long-form podcasts like this.
Okay, so, honor. Yep.
Yeah, most Jedi probably have this one.
Fidelity. I mean, I do kind of like the theory that Corky kid is his child. Because, he had the thing with Duchess Satine. The kid's about the right age.
Yeah, that is the theory. I mean, he clearly did have feelings for Duchess Satine, and he even mentions that in a later episode after she'd passed.
Well, he himself did say, had you said the word Duchess, I would have left the Jedi Order in a moment.
I was about to say, he truly does love her, so...
Yeah, but he doesn't get around, that's the
true.
thing. So Fidelity, he's fine.
Yeah, he's pretty much just, he's a one-woman man. He fell in love once, and that was enough for him. Self-reliance. Yeah, he's very capable by himself.
Yeah.
Even old Ben falls under that category.
Same kind of goes for industriousness. Whatever he does, he puts his all in.
And perseverance. He doesn't give up.
There was a time in the comic where he was put in a prison camp and just tortured for months and months, and he was still going. And he broke himself out, so that's...
And I do love how he's still making jokes, even when... remember when Maul comes back in the Clone Wars?
Mm-hmm.
And then he basically has him tied up and tortured. And then he's still cracking jokes at him. And he's just like... Well, it comes to mind that when I aimed for your waist, I probably should have aimed for your neck. And then he just punches him in the face.
I like your new legs. They make you look taller.
He's still cracking jokes. So, yep, he's definitely persevering. He's not giving up. He is not letting him... He's not giving him the high ground. I was about to say, I had to fit that in somehow. All right. Humility, compassion, and the warrior spirit.
Yeah. I'd say he's got all of those.
Yes, definitely the compassion for living beings, the humility, of course. Again, he kind of, maybe a little bit less when he gets older. But, like we specifically said, we were specifically talking Clone Wars era Obi-Wan here in the prime of his life for the Mjolnir contestants. Acceptance of the higher power, the Force. I was about to say, most Jedi pretty much apply to that specific one.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say earlier.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so there's kind of this thing in the comics where certain characters technically qualify for all the traits of Mjolnir, but they can only do it in the heat of battle. That's kind of Captain America's thing in the comics.
Yeah, that's his thing.
Whereas in the MCU, he's just always worthy and just didn't feel the need to try.
That's true, because... Yeah, only in the heat of battle. And I remember Miguel O'Hara was one of them, too, where he couldn't access the actual powers of the Mjolnir's thing. He could just lift it, and he just used that as a sign of authority.
Exactly. I feel like Obi-Wan might be one of those types of people.
That is true.
I can't explain
in the heat
why.
Of battle, and not necessarily in his personal life, where he could just, casually flip it around. All right, and from Obi-Wan to, I'd say, the more famous of the Jedi Masters...
I've got a funny joke for you. What happens to Thor when he yells too much?
What is that? What is that, Yoda?
He gets a Thor throat. Funny joke.
You like that? I'm trying to impersonate Danny on
Yes.
laugh.
Please don't sue us, Game Grumps, for stealing your joke.
Hire us, please.
Yeah, or hire us. I'm cool.
I'll edit your show.
I will make funny voices. That's pretty much all I am good for.
That's our sales pitch. He makes voices, I edit stuff.
Yeah. Hire us. I'm desperate. All right. So, courage. I'd say running into the heat of battle when you're only a foot tall, that's pretty courageous.
True.
Definitely. Honesty. Now that's the iffy one here.
I mean, he does love manipulating people.
That is true. He does manipulate people to the own ends, but again, we can argue the greater good thing. He might be another one of those only in combat worthiness.
I feel like with Yoda, it might be the older one would be more worthy than the Clone Wars one.
Oh, definitely, because after he realized his failure, he actually... he didn't really cut himself off in the Force. He refused to use his lightsaber again, and he refused to use the Force for, like, his everyday tasks. Like, he actually had to learn how to survive on Dagobah without the Force. And I think they specifically did state that him lifting the X-Wing out of the water in Episode 5 was actually the first time in years he had used the Force.
There was a quote from one of the old books from the Clone Wars era. I'm pretty sure it was Count Dooku who said it. The biggest problem with the Jedi Order is Yoda. He's been in power too long. When you sit by corruption long enough, you no longer notice the stench. That's Dooku's take on it, and I feel like he's kind of right. Like, Yoda's just become a bit too complacent in the Clone Wars era.
And that is a fair assessment. So again, this might be another heat of the battle situation. Because when he does fight for the good of the Republic. He does fight for the good of the light side of the Force, the good of the people.
But the question is, did the Jedi have any business fighting in the Clone Wars in the first place?
That is a fair point. I mean, technically Palpatine manipulated the Separatists and the clones. So, I mean, in theory, if the Jedi didn't accept the clones, and he probably still would have had the Separatists destroy places, so I'm assuming they probably still would have, tried to stop the Separatist army even without the clones. I mean, we get a bit of that in Episode 1 before the clones are even introduced.
Still, though, I mean, Mace said it, we're keepers of the peace, not soldiers. To some extent, I feel like the Jedi, as a religious group, have no business playing in politics.
They really don't. I mean, I get that, somebody that powerful, and that's probably why the Jedi Code was so strict and why they took, people are claiming, oh yeah, they're baby snatchers, but in theory, I can see why, because if they form too many strong emotional attachments, and they can't control their powers, as we can see, I forget, who was the character that, literally ripped Star Destroyers out of the sky? From the video.
Galen Merrick?
Galen Merrick. Yeah, he literally had the ability to casually rip Star Destroyers from orbit and clash it into the thing. I think a moody teenager with powers like that probably wouldn't be... Actually, what was it? I have problems with it, but there was a Star Wars Tales that explained why the Jedi shouldn't fall in love. And it was the tale of two brothers. It is a fable, so we don't actually know if it's entirely true. But basically what happened was two brothers essentially fell in love with the same woman, and their jealousy and spite engaged in they internalized the Force so badly that in the middle of their lightsaber duel, the explosion of Force energy of brother attacking brother out of sheer spite and jealousy destroyed their entire home planet. And that is why Jedi don't fall in love. I have problems with it, and I have a feeling that, maybe that was, a fable. Honestly, it wouldn't be as far-fetched with what we've seen Jedi do.
True. I mean, Darth Nihilus was just eating planets.
I know, he literally just, had the ability to... I learned about a bunch about stuff because I was, researching stuff for this video. Mm-hmm. And I got videos of both Darth Sion and Darth Nihilus. And I love how, Darth Sion internalized the Force so much he was literally too angry to... he's literally holding himself together with the Force, and he has a death wish, but then when he realized... hey, I probably can't die. I really hate Jedi. I should probably just devote my life to that. And I do love how, the thing that ends up killing him, and I forget who it was, the Force Exile, who, cut herself off from the Force from the Mandalore Wars, and I forget her name. But, basically, she just has a philosophical debate with him, and she's just like, you do realize that your entire point of living is to kill the Jedi. There will always be more Force users. You literally cannot win this battle. So, literally, you are living for the sake of living. And he's just like, You're right. And he just kind of wills himself to die, because, like, literally all he was doing was holding himself together with anger and hatred. And I'm like, that is actually very interesting. Because he realized just, wow, she hit me with straight facts. I literally my entire life's goal is completely pointless.
Behold, the Ben Shapiro of the Jedi Order.
Ben Shapiro of the Jedi Order. Oh, hey, nice promotion for your past video. Might want to put the link in the description for that one.
Absolutely.
Ah, yay.
And that is why Yoda can lift Mjolnir sometimes.
Yes, sometimes. I was about to say, we didn't even go through the full thing. But I was about to say that there is some interesting stuff that Yoda... Like, honestly, like, I think Yoda might actually be too powerful for Mjolnir, because, like, there is, like, a power limit, as I recall. Like, some certain people... Because there is literally a canon comic in which he completely destroyed a 1,000-foot tall rock man. And remember, Yoda is, like, 2 feet tall.
Well, size matters not.
Indeed, size matters not.
I don't think he was robbed in that death battle against King Mickey.
I feel like the argument could have been stronger.
The argument could have been stronger, but I also see that, like, magic is a separate thing in the Star Wars universe.
But it's still drawing on the Force, though.
That is true. The Night Sisters... I was about to say, like, it is weird how, like, it's semantics, because technically Night Sister magic is drawn by the Force, but it does different things. And, I mean, I guess the Ewoks TV show is also canon. Because they use magic in that. That's on Disney Plus now. Ewoks cartoon.
Never seen an episode.
I've seen Nostalgia Critic's review on it.
Same.
I was about to say, like, this is clearly for children. How is Droids not on Disney Plus yet?
I don't know.
I heard that was really good. Why isn't Droids on Disney Plus? They got the Ewok cartoon. So yeah, basically, Yoda, I'd say, is, like, maybe in combat sometimes, but he's definitely got, again, like, the Dooku quote, he's been near corruption too. Like, he's just, like, I'd say older Yoda probably would be far more worthy than, like, Clone Wars era Yoda. Maybe, like, if we're squinting at it, but we don't know too much, like, Padawan Yoda, or, like, that era.
I mean, we have no idea what Padawan
Exactly,
Yoda
we don't
was like.
really know at all. I mean, yeah, I was about to say, he's, what, over 900 years old? We have no idea how Padawan Yoda actually behaved. So I'd say, for 100% certainty, we would go with post-Clone Wars Yoda.
It's kind of funny comparing him to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan just became less and less of a good person over time, and Yoda just kept improving.
Exactly, and that is just definitely the interesting argument with Star Wars characters, just how, like, complex and beautiful that these characters are. And we're going from Yoda to one of his Padawans, I believe. I'm pretty sure it
was Dooku's apprentice.
Oh, he was Dooku's apprentice. And then, okay, the Padawan of his Padawan. Qui-Gon Jinn. Liam Neeson!
I don't know where you are. I don't know what you want. If it's credits, I have none. But what I do have is a very particular set of skills.
Skills that make me a nightmare to Sith like you. I will find you. And I will force choke you.
Which is ironic, because that's, like, one of the only abilities he's never done before.
That is true. Technically, I was about to say, he didn't actually... He only got partially ghosted, right? Like, he
never finished his training.
He never finished his training, so he could be a voice, but he couldn't be a full-on ghost. All right, so let's go with... He was a maverick, of course. He was a maverick. He didn't fully buy into the Jedi teachings, but as we discussed with Yoda previously... That's not necessarily a bad thing in terms of worthiness for Mjolnir.
Exactly.
Because, yes, the Jedi Council was flawed, so maybe this would help him. But let's just go through the actual virtues to actually determine whether or not Qui-Gon would actually qualify. Courage, definitely, 100%. He was still a courageous... I'd say most Jedi are courageous. They'd be willing to keep the peace despite their own physical injuries, or despite...
That's just my phone. Just ignore it. The ringing will end soon. I guess I should probably close the door because the answering machine's gonna pick up.
That's a fair point. We could probably just edit this out.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll get it. I'm closer to the door. I completely forgot what I was saying. What were we talking about?
Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon's virtues. Yes, definitely courageous. I'd say most Jedi fall under that umbrella. Risking life and limb for the greater good.
Let's see. Honesty. That might be difficult for Qui-Gon, because he can be a little bit manipulative.
He can be a little manipulative, but it was always for the greater good. I mean, I think he did try to use, like, the Force Mind trick on then he had to figure out something else on, what's his face, Watto.
My favorite description of Qui-Gon is from a YouTuber called Jen Sarai. He refers to Qui-Gon as Jack Sparrow gone sober.
You know what? I see it. Yeah, I see that. The bit of a maverick, but has a good heart.
And definitely has a plan, but is also making it up as he goes along.
Yeah, that fits him to a T, actually. Just without the alcohol abuse.
And also, Liam was never involved with Amber Heard, which is
probably
good for
the
him.
best thing, yes. Oh, that poor man.
And she's still an Aquaman too when he got fired from
Actually, I think the rumor is she's not in that anymore. That's the rumor. I don't know for sure. But
well, that makes me happy.
That does make me happy. All right, let's get on topic.
When did that ever stop us before?
That is true. We have literally never stayed on topic for any of these. Where were we? Honor, I believe.
Yeah, he's an honorable dude.
Indeed. He cares about his Padawan. He cares about the other people. He does care about the Jedi Order, even if he doesn't follow every strict teaching to a T.
And
technically, he died before. He also died before the Clone Wars, so that helps.
True.
That he was following the Jedi Order before the Clone Wars broke out. Fidelity.
Has he ever been involved with anyone?
I mean, I was about to say, I'm not familiar with, like, the supplementary material for...
Do you often go into Mrs. Doubtfire while correcting yourself?
Oh, yes, dearie. I go into Mrs. Doubtfire whenever I... Okay, so, yeah, supplementary material with Qui-Gon in it. I know it exists, I just haven't read it.
I know there was the one other Jedi who... what was her name? I think it was Adi Gallia, who was... people describe her as being the mother to Obi-Wan, as Qui-Gon is his father. If there is some kind of connection to there that I'm not aware of, feel free to correct me in the comments. But honestly, I'd say he's fine for fidelity, just because romance doesn't really occur to the man, from what I know.
Yeah, again, I pretty much my exclusive knowledge of Qui-Gon is from Episode 1, as well as his appearances in Clone Wars. So that's pretty much all I have in terms of that. Discipline. I mean, he's a maverick, but he's still a Jedi.
And he did mention to child Anakin, the path of a Jedi is not an easy life, so he's at least aware that this is difficult for most people.
Mm-hmm. Hospitality. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. You know, there was a comic I remember. It was like extra stuff that happens during Phantom Menace that you didn't see on screen or something.
Oh yeah, I think that there was like multiple issues of like each character's perspective of the events, and I just haven't read it.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's at the local library if you want to.
Oh cool, okay, I'll check it out.
So there was a scene I remember where Qui-Gon is walking with Anakin, and he sees this slave master who's abusing the slave, and Qui-Gon uses the mind trick on him to be kinder to the slave. And Anakin asks him, why didn't you just have him free him? It was like, that guy would have no idea how to make a living for himself now. He wouldn't be able to survive long on Tatooine. This is just the safer solution. Which is, I don't know how that compares to hospitality.
It's fair. Like, I'd say more that's realism, less hospitality. Like, that's just like, yeah, he wouldn't be able to survive without assisting him, so instead he just did this better solution and made him think, I guess, think he was an equal or something, instead of somebody subservient. So I guess that would, like, you know, change his outlook upon him. So I guess that's technically, I'm not sure.
I wonder how long the effects of the mind trick actually last on a person.
We will get into that.
Oh?
I have a secret character. I was about to say, without spoiling anything, I'd say that it lasts a long time, and I'm pretty sure it might be permanent. Just... Okay. I was about to say, I won't go into it until later, but I'm pretty sure the effects of the Jedi mind trick, especially simple phrases, are permanent.
So when Obi-Wan told that kid, you wish to go home and rethink your life, he's probably doing much better now. I hope.
Yeah, I hope.
You're making a face at me. I assume that this is something with what you were going to talk about later.
It might.
Okay. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say let's move on until you're ready. Okay. We can probably breeze through some of these. Self-reliance, yep. Industriousness, yep. Perseverance, definitely.
Humility, compassion, and the warrior spirit. And the higher power of the Force.
He basically worships the Force at this point. That's what sets him apart.
That's the reason he essentially became the first Force ghost, even though he didn't fully do his training, so he's just a voice. But
I mean, he's not the first in Expanded Universe. There were a couple others who did it first, but
fair enough. But so was that episode of the Clone Wars like after the stuff was retconned? Because they did say that it's impossible for somebody to, or did they just not know about the older Jedi Force ghosts?
Honestly, I don't really know how much George Lucas and Dave Filoni actually take into account the old stuff. Like, they're willing to make references and adapt things, but the idea that they're going on is that word of God beats all, so whatever George puts in the Clone Wars immediately overwrites anything from the old days.
Fair enough. Alrighty then, and from Qui-Gon to the coolest dude in the Jedi Order, the bad, I can't say the rest of that Pulp Fiction quote because we don't want to get demonetized. Qui-Gon, sorry, I read Qui-Gon Jinn again. Yes, Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon Jinn was in Pulp Fiction. No, Mace Windu. Mace frickin' Windu, man.
What if they switched roles, though? Liam Neeson in Pulp Fiction and Sam Jackson in Taken.
That would still be awesome. Okay, no, I'm sorry, I reread. Okay, we're going to ignore that and pretend I said Mace Windu the first time.
Well, you're going to ignore it. I'm going to keep making fun of you.
Of course you
the
are.
whole time we're here.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't expect anything less.
Mace Windu is not worthy. I don't think he is.
Really?
I do not.
Okay. And I guess we should have our discussion then. All right, you state your piece, and I'll state mine.
Okay. Technically speaking, going off most of the ideals, he's fine. My problem with Mace Windu is that he is too focused on the Republic and too willing to go too far. If someone who is actually worthy of Mjolnir had gotten the news, hey, Chancellor Palpatine is a Sith Lord, I feel like they would have been a little bit smarter about it. Call the council in, have an emergency meeting. Okay, guys, the Chancellor has been undermining us this whole time. We need to plan out our next move very carefully before we engage. Like, don't just run in, try to arrest him, which is illegal, by the way, because the Republic Constitution says you can't take someone from office because of religious practices. That's a thing.
I guess Sith is technically a religion.
Exactly. They specifically put that in there so that a Jedi could take the role of Chancellor, but they never said that a Sith couldn't do it.
Oh, that is a loophole. I was about to say, I mean, the Sith are bad guys, though.
To us, but you'd have to try him first to find out. And yeah, if you can prove that he's in league with the Separatists...
Does he have a red lightsaber?
So did Luke.
Oh yeah, that's true. I was about to say, I did forget about. But I thought like the whole reason a red lightsaber exists is because like the Kyber crystal and like the hatred in your heart or whatever like created that.
Well, that's the canon explanation as of now. The idea is that a Sith, to build his lightsaber, kills a Jedi, steals their Kyber crystal, and then fuels that crystal with the dark side so much that it cracks, so that the Force entity inside the crystal cracks and bleeds.
I did hear that, and I was about to say, I didn't realize that was a recent introduction. I actually do like that idea.
The original idea was that the Sith were using alchemy to forge their own crystals, and they chose the color red for tradition.
I like both of them. I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I prefer the canon. Like, that's one thing you got right, Disney. To
be honest, I feel like both of these should be implemented. You can establish lore on the different Sith Lords. Like the Sith alchemists and sorcerers do their own homegrown crystals.
Like maybe the High Republic or the Old Republic.
Yeah,
we're ignoring High Republic. That doesn't exist.
Good.
I'm pretending it doesn't exist.
Okay, so my idea is that the more intellectual type Sith Lords like Darth Plagueis, maybe Darth Vitiate, those, and even Bane to an extent, those types of guys, they make their own lightsaber crystals.
I'd say Darth Sion would probably be like the latter with the killing a Jedi, because that's his entire deal.
Yeah, but then you'd have like the Sith warrior types who just hate the Jedi and constantly go to war. They'd be the ones to hunt Jedi and do that process.
Probably Inquisitors as well would fall under that umbrella. Something interesting, there was a recent Darth Vader thing, that a comic that had him and the Inquisitors on a mission to hunt a bunch of rogue Jedi, and there was something interesting because he had an entire elite squadron of clone troopers who were the final ones frozen post like the final like 5 of them or whatever that were just in stasis for the Clone Wars, and then there were the elite Empire troopers, and they were following them around. And something very interesting happened. the Jedi noticed all the clone troopers standing behind the line of Inquisitors, and I forget which Jedi it is, but he simply stands up and says, "Execute Order 66." And every single one of those Inquisitors were former Jedi.
Oh, that's really clever.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Yep. Obviously, there were no more clones after that. That's why there are regular stormtroopers who are people.
That's really interesting.
I know. I'm like, that was actually really good.
Who's writing this?
I don't know. It was one. I think it was Darth Vader, Darth Vader the Sixth. I think that was Volume 2. I haven't read. I've read parts of Volume 1, specifically the Vader Down miniseries, which has that awesome scene of Luke basically kamikazing into Vader and dropping him on the planet, and the Rebel Alliance has him surrounded, and he's just like, "I am only surrounded by fear and dead men." And then he, like, clenches his fist and sets off all their grenades, blowing half of them away. And then a tank tries to shoot him. And then he, like, one-arms his lightsaber like a wiffle ball bat and slams the bolt right back into the tank, destroying it. And all the rebels are like, "Oh, no, we're not dealing with this today." I was going to say, Disney has done some good stuff with this. I will never say that Disney has not done good stuff with the Star Wars IP. It's unfortunate that most of the stuff I'm not keen on.
Yeah. You know, another thing I will say, canon, the idea behind the crystals is, whereas in the old one there was like several different types of crystals, and that's how different Jedi get different colors. In the current canon, the explanation is that there's only two types, the Kyber crystals and then the orange crystals, which are worse somehow. But the Kyber crystals, it starts out colorless, and the color changes to match the mindset of the Jedi who has it, which is kind of interesting.
I figured, also, like, the colors had something to do with, like, the personality.
Well, yeah, they're like the different classes of Jedi that were marked by what color they had.
And weren't, like, the purest ones white or something?
Well, yeah, that's the natural Kyber crystal color. But what was it? Oh, yeah, the idea of the different classes of Jedi was a thing that was introduced by KOTOR era. So, like, old Republic had the Guardians, the Sentinels, and all the other classes that aren't occurring to me off the top of my head.
I think that's where, like, Kylo's lightsaber came from with the two side things, because, like, it was a crude design, and, like, they had to excess heat from the sides.
Something interesting to note is that in the time of the Clone Wars era, in the expanded universe, before this explanation showed up in the new canon, all the Jedi they carried several different color crystals because each of them had their own different advantages and disadvantages.
Oh, really? The actual color of the lightsaber had different...
Yeah, the crystal itself, because each one is a different type of crystal.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, that's why every time you see art of Plo Koon, he's got a different color. He's had orange, green, yellow, blue, purple. Well, maybe not purple. I don't think purple.
I was going to say Mace is kind of exclusively purple.
In the old Mace Windu books, there was actually a really interesting reason he had the purple crystal. He specifically
in the real U-World version is that
Sam
likes the color purple, and he specifically requested it.
But in the old books, the explanation was when I want to say he was a young knight or a Padawan at the time, but Mace had this vision of himself with the purple lightsaber. And he just thought that was a call from the Force that he needed to find that crystal. So he just went on this adventure across the galaxy to find one. And he finds one on his home planet. So it's like destiny.
True. So, again, back to your I see why. Like, why you would believe he wouldn't be completely worthy given his gun-ho attitude at murder. And, overthrowing the government. Of course, the infamous, "He's too dangerous to be kept alive."
It's not the Jedi way!
That is fair. I'd be remiss to point out that in canon, in Marvel canon, Thor has succumbed to Warrior's Madness before. Which is indeed a thing, where he goes a little too far, yet he is still worthy. So, that is just... I was about to say, it's not a great argument, but it is my counter-argument. And of course, given the fact that he does follow the Jedi teachings, he does, as we said before, follow under the umbrella. I see your point of view. And I would say, like, occasional, like, much like Obi-Wan, or much like Yoda, it would be like an occasional heat of battle thing. But I also respect your point of view, and I see that you do make really good points.
And see, with Obi-Wan and Yoda, I feel like Obi-Wan could do it casually, even if he doesn't have the power all the time. Yoda would become worthy once he learns his lesson about failure. Mace, I feel like he'd be like a Tony Stark. He'd be trying everything and it wouldn't budge.
That also could work. Yeah, I was about to say, like, not every hero in the Marvel Universe can lift it, too. So I guess that is a fair assessment.
Are we good with Mace, then?
I'd say we're good with Mace.
So he's our first objective no on the list. That kind of makes me happy. Just, I didn't want to have an entire list of just yes.
That is a fair point. Although we did usually come up with exceptions for aside from Luke and Leia, they're pretty much...
Yeah, just all worthy all the time, unless you're in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah. I mean, I'd make the argument for Leia in the sequel trilogy.
Kind of. I mean, she makes terrible military mistakes, but that's just writing.
I was about to say, that's just bad writing. That's not... Actually, if we're being technical, Luke is bad writing, too. It's like, that's just... But, okay, well, we'll go with... we'll move on, then.
I believe the next one we have on the list is Shakti.
The Jedi who is the most in tune with the Force, as I recall.
She's one of them, yeah.
All right, so... I'd say that, yeah, she's definitely got most of the nobility and such, as we said. Like, that's most of the people in the Jedi Order have most of these at one point. But are there, like, specific requirements that you would like to focus on, specifically due to Shakti's personality? You actually know far more about this character than I do, so I will let you probably take the reins on this one.
Honestly, yeah, I'd say she's very worthy. Honestly, I was very surprised when you suggested this character to me, because when we were discussing characters.
Exactly. I knew that we would do ones that were like a solid 10 that we would just have on the list to talk about, that it wasn't surprise. And I did know, like, this is solely because of your endorsement of her character, actually, that I'm like, yeah, I was about to say, Shakti, I mean, she is very important on the Jedi Order, and I've seen a lot of stuff with her in the Clone Wars, specifically the 2D one, and I finally got around to watching that, and it was really awesome. And, I was really glad I ended up watching it, and yeah, definitely the compassion and the basically doing the right thing. Of course, that is most Jedi, but I don't know. There was just this. Oh, and plus her, and I know this is technically not canon anymore. Her fight with Starkiller in Force Unleashed 1.
I was going to use that as an example, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say, I have played Force Unleashed 1. She, is hopeful that good will prevail, whether the Jedi Order exists or not, and she just sacrificed herself at the end instead of being killed by Starkiller, basically to become one with the Force.
I will say that what she's doing while she's on that planet, basically, the idea is that this entire planet is corrupted with the dark side and it's strong with it, and just her presence here, she is keeping the entire planet sane, just with her sheer power of the light side. So as soon as Galen kills her, when he comes back later, he sees that the world has gone to madness.
That is true. I do remember that. I was about to say, like, and then you fight with her apprentice, right? And she has, like, those tonfa...
Which are really stupid, by the way.
I was about to say, like, logistically... Like, people were complaining about Kylo's lightsaber with the 2 points at the end. That actually has some combative thing, as we saw in his fight with Finn, where he just, like, stabs him in the shoulder. Like, that actually has some combat applications. The tonfas are, like, right next to your elbow. That is a terrible placement. That is a terrible idea.
I feel like if Vader ever fought her, he would specifically use some power hits to move that blade right backwards.
Oh yeah, just cut off her own arm with her own blade.
Exactly. That's just the
I was about to say, like,
he loves.
Literally all I can see, like, somebody needs to make an animation of this as I'm pitching it. Her running towards him with those tonfas, and literally all he puts his saber back into his belt. He's watching her run towards her. We do, like, the Monty Python joke where she keeps running, like, where she's at the same distance away. Mm-hmm. And then literally all he does is he holds up 2 hands, points 2 fingers towards the center, and he curves the blades towards her arm, and she just has no arms, and she falls over. I was about to say, like, that is something, like, I could see, even in canon, I could see Vader doing something like that without the Monty Python joke.
Exactly.
It's just like, whoop, I'm not even gonna bother with the lightsaber with this one. Whoop. But yeah, Shakti. Definitely, especially with the... I was about to say, because, like, how many deaths has she had in canon? Because technically none of them stuck.
I want to say 3. So there's the deleted scene where she's stabbed by Grievous, the deleted scene, which we do not speak of, from Order 66.
Yeah, how she somehow didn't sense the darkness in Anakin, even though she can literally cleanse an entire planet of darkness.
Exactly, that's my problem. I've said this to you before.
I was about to say, I know you've mentioned this. which is why I brought this up.
So Shakti, specifically, she is supposed to be highly attuned to the Force. She's just sitting in her room meditating while the Jedi Purge is happening. She doesn't feel all these people dying.
I was about to say,
hear the people dying right outside her door.
I think I was about to say, even without the Force, I'm pretty sure you would hear people screaming outside.
And all the blaster fire too. And just Darth Vader himself walks in. What is it, Skywalker?
Oh, I probably should have seen this coming.
In hindsight, I'm kind of bad at my job.
Again, I'd say the canon death would be the one from Force Unleashed, because at least that one actually gives dignity to the character.
Definitely.
Although, I don't know, with, like, obviously, I don't think the games are canon anymore. We're talking extended universe. But I was about to say, I don't think the games are canon anymore. I think what is canon is just the Clone Wars TV show and all the supplementary material that was released after Disney's acquisition of Star Wars.
Yep, pretty much.
There's even a nice little thing on Wikipedia when you click on characters. Either you want legends or canon. You want legends? Legends are the cooler stories.
9 times out of 10.
9 times out of 10. There are good stories in canon. I will not say that there aren't.
And there are some bad stories in Legends.
And there are really bad, I was about to say there are bad stories in Legends too. We're not going to pretend that Legends is like the pinnacle of good Star Wars.
I mean, I'm one of those people who didn't even like the idea of Luke Skywalker. Do you not know about this?
Not know about what?
Luke. It's Luke spelled with 2 U's. The idea is there was this dark Jedi who was insane in the Imperial era. His name's Joris Sabayoth.
Okay.
And when he finds out the Skywalkers are running around in the galaxy and building the Jedi Order again.
This is around what era? Like, what after what movie?
Around, like, post 6.
Okay, so
Joris
definitely
Sabayoth.
extended universe. Okay.
So Joris Sabayoth went into Cloud City. He took Luke's hand, and then he used some cloning tech to grow the body around the hand so that he could make a whole new Luke Skywalker. And then creates this clone. And
they already used that stupid plot point?
Yeah.
I was literally telling him before the show, there was a Darth Vader comic that was just released where they basically said they didn't clarify whether it was Anakin's hand or Luke's hand in the jar, but it's heavily implied that combined with the Emperor's DNA, that's what made Snoke. And they already used this stupid plot point?
Exactly.
They literally bring up in, I think it was Force Unleashed 2, where they said a Force user clone is almost impossible, and that's why the Starkiller clone in that video game is so impressive, because the fact that he isn't immediately degrading.
See, that one, and there was one other instance of that, of somebody making a successful clone. The Darth Maul clone from Star Wars Resurrection. And
I haven't read that series. I heard it was good, but I haven't.
Specifically, there's this underground Sith cult that hates Darth Vader. They feel like Palpatine deserves a better apprentice, so they just go out and clone Darth Maul and have him challenge Vader in a duel.
I've seen that panel of him stabbing himself in order to get the clone.
Yeah, and I'll give them credit. That scene was cool. I highly question those two things. Like, what was so special about these 2 clones that made them not have any defects at all?
And again, it could be either the will of the Force or luck. That's just...
Credit where it's due. Even the sequel trilogy respected that. The Snoke clones are all deformed in some way, and the Palpatine clone, and yes, that's a clone. They confirmed that in the novelization.
A clone mixed with cybernetics and random Sith occultism.
Yep. So Palpatine's.
Also, why was Palpatine's clone son Rey's father person not deformed? If they're all deformed. Oh, I was about to say, there's a third one. There's Rey's father.
I mean, to be fair, the idea from the Dark Empire story was that the Palpatine clones couldn't handle Palpatine's power in the Force.
I was going to say, I have read the first one. I haven't read the second one, but I've read the first one.
Yeah, so
and basically, like, he kept burning through clone bodies after he died. Mm-hmm. And that's why he needed Luke, so he could basically transfer his soul to him.
Exactly, but I suppose in some ways maybe the explanation could be that this Palpatine clone who somehow gained sentience and became good, maybe he just didn't use the dark side at all, so he never burned through his body.
Fair enough.
I'm giving them way more credit than they deserve.
I was about to say. The other theory is that the Veil of the Force, that he actually, since those mirrors were actually in Episode 6, he actually went through one of them and basically force pulled one of the mirrors to him, and that's why he's so badly damaged, but not, like, unreasonably so. Because he wasn't actually in the explosion. And if that's how they retcon the sequel trilogy, which they might do, that's just, given how things are going currently, that might actually end up happening.
Like I was saying, with the Palpatine clone, I respect that they at least respected the rule that Force clones have problems. Like, with him, the body is just so badly broken and damaged, he can barely move, and he has to be moved around on a claw, and that's kind of cool.
Of course, the ending ruins it, but we're going to...
I mean, the idea of him healing himself through Force Drain isn't a terrible idea either.
That isn't either. Yeah, I was about to say, I did respect that. Oh, yeah, but the whole... Oh, it's a dyad, and then I'm going to completely abandon my previous plan.
Okay, I'm gonna level with you, man. As much as I hate Rise of Skywalker, that's not one of the things I had a problem with.
No, the thing I had the problem with is that she literally did the exact same thing he wanted her to do and still got no consequences.
Well, oh my god, I can't believe I'm defending Rise of Skywalker right now.
Oh, you're really doing that? Okay.
Okay.
Let's hear this.
The idea, Palpatine's plan, he wants to get Rey there so that she can strike him down in anger so that he can forcibly put his body into her. So when she's boosted by all the Jedi spirits, the overwhelming force is enough to knock his soul out and destroy him.
I was about to say that was in like the novelization, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and also a little bit of my own guesswork. But in theory, it's not bad. It's just JJ doesn't know how to execute these plans.
Actually, if they actually went through with their original plan of actually having the Force ghosts present during that scene and like putting their hands out, empowering Rey, I would have accepted it more.
At some point, I plan to do a rewrite of the trilogy. And I remember I sent the backstory that I came up with for Kylo to you.
And I really enjoyed that. I definitely would. Again, like, we should probably get together and, like, actually, like, do it together. I'll definitely give you a hand if you need it.
Hey, maybe that'll be a future podcast.
That could be a future podcast.
Rewriting the sequel trilogy.
Indeed, 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 indeed.
But one of the ideas I had for Rey to try to fix the fact that she's just so darn perfect, and this qualifies because it would bring back some other cast members. I want to say that back when she was a scavenger, she found this Jedi holocron and then started using it while she was there. So that kind of explains how she just innately knows how to do everything.
Yeah, and only a Force user can actually open those.
Exactly. It's something that's plausible because it doesn't really take a lot of training or power to get it open in the first place. Ezra did it in the first episode.
It's true, and he basically didn't have any Force skill whatsoever until like later in the series. And then it was like a subtle way of telling you that she's a Jedi before you even doing that. Like, Eagle Eye fans would know that, but like people wouldn't realize that until later in the episode where it was told, or later in the movie when it was told. But like the Eagle Eye fans would know that's a holocron. The only way you could open that is if you're a Force user.
And I kind of have this funny idea. I don't know if the basis for the idea was taken from someone else. I want to say it was Evan Nova 95, but I just like this idea of in the holocron you have Anakin be the one to do it, but it's like Padawan Anakin from like Attack of the Clones era. So when
teenager Anakin.
Exactly. So when Rey first turns it on, it's just he pops up. I don't want to be here. Obi-Wan forced me to do this. And then you just hear Ewan McGregor's voice in the background. Anakin, we've discussed this. If you hope to become a Jedi Master someday, you must know how to pass the knowledge that you've learned on to the potential next generation. Yeah, whatever. Okay, here. This is a lightsaber.
Press this button.
Anakin! Alright. So if you're gonna block a blaster bolt, do this. And then put your elbows like this. Can I go home now? Anakin!
I was about to say, it's legitimately funny, but not disrespectful for the characters. Were we talking about Shakti?
Yes. I kind of want to finish this thought, though, now that I'm on this train. Okay. See, that would show some real development from Anakin, because we see in Rebels that the holocron that Kanan and Ezra has a recording from him during Clone Wars, and he is, like, all into this whole teaching thing. So he's like, alright, so here I'm going to teach you how to do the 5th form of lightsaber combat, and you'll notice that I have made a few additions to the style. Now, practice these forms. 1, 2, 3, and then, like, that is great character development. We can say that Ahsoka at least partially did that.
Probably. Like, the fact that he had a younger apprentice who actually, like, made him, like, learned that, got him out of the doldrums a little. Plus, the fact he was probably married to his wife at that point, too. Made him a little happier. Yeah, married life makes you happy. You love with your sweetheart. You got married after you got your hand chopped off by frickin' Dracula. Because he did play Dracula.
Yep.
And Shakti definitely is worthy. You'd say like just even like Luke and Leia, just casual wielding Mjolnir. Now I also have an idea for her Thor armor.
Yeah.
Again, very similar to the Jane Foster armor, but instead of the helmet, I would say it's like, you know, those ceremonial beads, but like in the shape of the wings and the thing. Like I'd say that'd probably be interesting.
I think the ceremonial beads are just for Padawans, though. Like I know the reason Ahsoka had it was because she didn't have hair to cut into the rat tail style.
Fair enough. I just wanted to something like I was just trying to figure
that
out a
does
way
sound
around
cool.
around the horns. That's basically.
Maybe she doesn't even need the helmet.
That's a fair point. And speaking of what's Shakti's species again?
Togrutan.
Speaking of Togrutans, let's go with the other famous Togrutan, Ahsoka Tano.
I realized as we were talking about the Anakin thing, that would have been a great segue. You know, Ahsoka helped him become a better... Hey, speaking of Ahsoka...
She's our next candidate for Mjolnir. Yeah, I'd say, like, again, with the Jedi stuff, she probably would fit most of these, given the fact that, you know, most Jedi, you know, believing in the higher power. Even after she was shunned from the Jedi Order, she never stopped believing in the Force and the good side. And the light side, rather.
I feel like she's more worthy after getting kicked out of the Order,
I'd
because
say
she starts
definitely.
to see that the Jedi are kind of screwed up.
She essentially became a Grey in The Mandalorian.
I'm going to be honest, I feel like she would have lost her worthiness by the time Mandalorian happens, because she's just too cynical.
Fair enough. So, like, that intermediate point between after she left the Jedi Order and before Mandalorian.
Yeah, anything up to the ending of Rebels is fine.
Fair enough. Definitely just, she's got the optimism, she's got the, you know, the wanting to do good, the, even in spite of the Order and that they betrayed her, she never... like disavowed the Force or disavowed the teaching she learned from Anakin or other Jedi. She just didn't like the flaws in the system.
You know, I just remembered a scene with her from the Siege of Mandalore where she asks a question about what's going on back there, and Mace Windu, and this is another reason why I don't think he'd be worthy, just when he's like, this is a matter of the Jedi, civilians shouldn't be involved. Like, forget you, man.
Yeah, Mace was kind of not cool on that point. I was about to say, like, yeah, fair enough.
Was he in the voices that talked to Rey?
I think he was, actually.
So him and Ahsoka together, that could lead to a funny scene.
I was about to say,
when
just
she
the two Force ghosts.
Just her when she talks
I don't know.
to
Would
Rey.
Mace learn that ability?
I don't know.
I mean, we don't even know if he's dead. He was just thrown out a window.
I mean, I assume he's dead by the time Rey's around.
So by the time Rey's around, he's definitely dead. But like, we don't know if like him getting flung out the window by Anakin killed him.
You're right. I just think that scene would be funny when once Ahsoka starts talking to Rey. You can do it, Rey. Feel the Force around you. Just who let the civilian in here? Mace! It's been 30 years. Get over yourself.
And I just realized that I hate the sequel trilogy even more, because that means Ahsoka's dead by the time Rey's around.
How old would she even be if she was still alive?
If Luke is still... Oh, wait, right.
Well, okay,
I was about to say, Luke was a baby. She was like, what, 18?
She was like 18 when Luke was born. So 18 plus 19 years up to the original trilogy. So that's 4 years to Return of the Jedi. And then
What's
another...
a Togrutan's lifespan?
I don't know off the top of my head. Let me Google this.
I was about to say, they might be like Wookiees or Yoda's species, where they just live an insanely long time.
Lifespan of a... No, not a cat. Thank you, Google. That's...
I was about to say, if you just go to Wikipedia, I'm pretty sure like the Togrutan page has the lifespan.
Depending on where you search, Ahsoka's species, the Togruta, have an average lifespan of 82 to 94 years.
Okay, so average human.
And some sites claim powerful Force-using Togruta can live up to 200 years.
Oh, well, the Force.
I don't know.
I was about to say, the Force definitely does make you live longer than you should. I mean, Darth Sion is a prime example of that.
Yeah, but the dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities that some consider to be unnatural. You know, they say that Ian McDiarmid used a lot of his Shakespearean experience like that. I would love to hear that voice coming out of somebody in Shakespeare plays.
Oh crap! Now I gotta think of a Shakespearean. I've told you about William Shakespeare's Star Wars, right?
Yep.
It's interesting because the opera scene it's not him telling Anakin this in this version. Instead, they rip off Hamlet, where he does the play that enacts the murder of the king.
Oh.
Instead, it's the play doing Darth Plagueis the Wise. He pays the opera people to do that.
That's really interesting, actually. I
I know. I was about to say it's slightly different, but obviously the ending. He used Shakespearean prose when the guy William, whatever his name is, last name. I feel bad. We'll probably put it up on the screen. One of the example of the books. William Dosher. Boop. I think Dosher. Is it? It might be Dosher. Well, it might be William Dosher.
I can just Google this right now.
I was about to say, still put the pictures up on there because they're really cool covers and I like them. And this is stupid. I have all 9. I have all 9 volumes. I haven't read the 9th one. I have read 1 through 8, but I haven't read the 9th one because I'm like, you know what? It was cheap, and I got a good deal on him. And
yep, it's Dosher.
William Dosher. And Ian Dosher. I thought it was William. But no, so instead of him telling the story, it's the play of Darth Plagueis the Wise, but obviously in still Shakespearean prose, he asks the same thing. Can a Jedi learn this? Can you learn this power? Not from a Jedi, thine, whatever he says in Shakespearean version. So that part is still between Anakin and Palpatine. But that part, I just thought it was interesting that they do the Hamlet thing where he pays the actors to actually reenact Darth Plagueis the Wise. He's like, oh, conveniently, he's feeling this way. I'm going to...
I remember seeing a meme on Facebook a while back with Palpatine telling the story to Anakin, and then he just has this monologue internally. He's so predictable. Next he's going to ask if it's possible to learn this power. And Anakin's like, I think I understand. Don't allow your ambitions to blind you to what's important.
No!
Thanks! Thank you, Chancellor. This has really helped clear some stuff up.
No!
Dang it, there goes 12 years of work.
12 years of work on down the toilet.
Wait, just like the Republic's economy.
Wait a minute, I was about to say, what do they... I never thought about this. What do they have for toilets in the Star Wars universe? I'm assuming they have them, or something similar to that. Oh, we got off the train of thought.
Let's not go that too far.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's not go down this rabbit hole. Ahsoka, yes, definitely. So we'd say, would you say she's an in battle or a casual user of Mjolnir?
I'd say she's in with Obi-Wan. She's casually lifting it, just not using it all the time.
All right, so casually lifting it, but not using its power until the heat of battle.
Yeah, so I want to say right at the tail end of Clone Wars, up until the original trilogy. That's the time period in which she can use it at its maximum capacity.
Especially, I'd say, when she's Fulcrum, when she's basically essentially starting the rebellion.
Whereas in Mandalorian, I feel like she might be able to make it move a little bit, but not actually.
She just kind of does that thing where she was hiding behind the tree and using the Force. Instead, she uses Mjolnir. Just knocks the dude out. I mean, that was similar to that scene with Quicksilver in Age of Ultron.
Didn't see that coming.
Alrighty then. So are we good? You think we're good with Ahsoka?
Yeah.
Alright, moving on to a sequel trilogy character. We told you we'd come around to this. We don't completely hate every character in this. I'd say, specifically Episode 7, Finn might actually be worthy. Because, I was about to say, they didn't... I wouldn't say they destroyed his character in the next 2 movies. It's just that they did nothing with him.
Well, to be fair, let me look at the list
again,
the list just to be double.
I was about to say, we were talking about stuff without the list. Let's see,
I don't know if he would apply for courage in Episode 7, because his whole thing is that he's running away.
However, again, his lightsaber fight with Kylo at the very end, I'd say he went into courage at the very end. He wanted to protect an innocent person, somebody he met along the way.
And then he runs away again at the beginning of 8.
I told you we're ignoring the sequels. We're ignoring the other 2 movies. We're specifically focusing on Episode 7 Finn.
I feel like 9 Finn might stand a chance.
Well, they're both written by the same guy, so of course 7 and 9 have consistency.
Maybe Finn's one of those people. Maybe he's like Obi-Wan or Ahsoka. I guess he can move it around. He just can't use it until he's in those moments of trying to protect.
I was about to say specifically that lightsaber battle with Kylo Ren is what I'm basing this off.
Yeah, that would be the moment where he's fully using it.
Exactly. He'd probably be able to move it around. I'd say he definitely has. He gained honor afterwards because he never actually fully agreed to the Empire's cause, and especially after seeing the horrors of war, he wanted to escape. So definitely that means there was good in him from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Fidelity, he's very loyal to Rey. I was about to say Discipline. I mean, he's definitely
He's a soldier.
He's a soldier. Yeah, I was about to say he definitely has soldier's discipline, even though he was fighting for a cause he didn't believe in, and then he eventually did fight for a cause he did believe in. But we're going to retcon a bunch of the bits from. We're going to pick and choose what we moments from the sequel trilogy that were cool with Finn.
Finn's one of those characters that I want to fix in my rewrite.
Exactly. Like there is so much good and potential with Finn, and it's a shame because like there was so much there for him in episode 7. A stormtrooper who quit the war because he saw the atrocities of war and he wanted to escape, and eventually found courage in wanting to stand up for the rebellion because he spent his entire life running in fear of the Empire, or okay, maybe cowering in fear of the Empire, and then eventually he decided he went against the head of the Empire. What was it? Not the Empire. First Order.
Yeah.
First Order. I keep saying Empire. The first.
Well, they are Empire 2.0.
I was about to say Empire 2.0. First Order. He took on the head of the First Order. We're not counting Snoke. The head of the First Order, and he literally his response to him going towards him, traitor, come get it.
You know, in my version of events, I feel like I would like have Finn. He's the person you expect to be the bad one because he's a former soldier killer, but that experience makes him the most compassionate.
I was about to say, exactly, because compassion is one of these. He definitely is compassionate, especially after he leaves the First Order.
I think it would have been cool if maybe during the battle on the planet when he's hanging out with Han and Chewie, maybe some of the stormtroopers see him and confront him. They're like, dude, what the heck? Why did you leave? And then he has a moment to explain himself.
Yes, and then you would think he would try to trick him, or would he try to like just be completely honest? I'd say he'd be honest and just like say that like this is the horror of war, and I mean technically, and that would make more sense for episode 9 when all the people on the planet said that they were ex-stormtroopers, and they heard about the one who said no. And then it would make sense because we actually have a documented him of him putting his foot down and saying he refuses to.
Heck, he could have done something with Leia's message at the end of 8 when she's like, is there anyone still out there? He could join in on that message and speak as, hey, I'm a former stormtrooper, here's why I left, here's why the resistance is better, and then that could be a great payoff when he meets the other stormtroopers in 9.
Exactly, like he's just said we heard rumors of it at first, and then it was your message to the galaxy that confirmed it, and we didn't like it either. We didn't like them. We didn't like either. We had doubt in our hearts, and we left. I was about to say, it is kind of stupid that, like, she didn't explain it well. Basically, she essentially said, well, an entire troop of stormtroopers who were in a single battalion just threw their arms down, and no resistance was met by the...
That would have been an amazing, effective scene if that had been shown.
If it had been shown, but theoretically, like what I'm thinking of is just, like, there would probably be an Inquisitor or a Force user there, just, like, just kill all of them. But, like, oh yeah, it would have been far more impressive if we actually saw this moment instead of just heard about it.
You know, in my version of events, I want to have Finn be a Jedi. Just imagine him leading a horde of stormtroopers into battle.
If the Lego one is canon, he technically does have Force abilities. But, yeah, I mean, it is heavily implied he has Force abilities. Like, he can at least has access to the Force.
Yeah, why else would Kylo Ren care about this one random stormtrooper?
I was about to say, like, the fact that he actually was able to hold his own against Kylo, he lost eventually, but hold his own for a bit, probably shows he had some, at least some, like, I wouldn't say precognition ability, but, like, has some form of knowing, I forget, how do they explain it? Because, like, some Jedi have, like, knowledge of the lightsaber forms without actually learning, like, just like they can flow through the moves from, like, the Jedi's past or whatever, kind of like the Avatar.
But they have to train, though.
Yes, they have to train.
In my version of events, Kylo Ren in that duel would be kind of just playing with them both.
Yeah, I'd say...
Not like they're actual equals to him. Like, these two should not be on the same level. Just, this to him is like his way to recruit them. He's showing them how to be a better lightsaber duelist.
And that is far... But I do like the idea, especially of just Finn and Rey both trying to fight him at the same time. And then him just, like... I still like the planet cracking apart, separating them. He's just like, you know what, I'm done. Like, instead of him being unconscious, it's just like, you know what, I'm done here. And he jumps away. Yeah, because you gotta make your bad guy intimidating.
He would still be intimidating if you just reshot a couple of those scenes of him having temper tantrums.
Like, I liked one or two of them. Like, the one legitimately did make me laugh with the two stormtroopers.
Yeah, that's funny.
And then he was just like, no, man. And then they turn away. Yeah. I was about to say, that is legitimately really funny. We're like, not dealing with this today.
And I do think that's also kind of effective, that scene where after the one guy who reports events to him mentions the girl, like Kylo just reaches out with a force, pulls him over, grabs him by the neck. What girl? That's kind of a cool scene.
I was about to say, in a sense, maybe in a different context, I could kind of see like Vader or somebody doing something similar. Like, you know, just like, oh, well, yeah, we the blonde-haired boy. What blonde-haired boy?
You know, there was a scene kind of like that in one of the Vader comics. It's shown that Vader is actively hunting people who take up the name of Luke Skywalker. And there's this scene with this dude in a bar who's just telling people, oh yeah, I'm Luke Skywalker, I blew up the Death Star. And Vader walks in and murders him on the spot and tells the other people around, if you take the identity of Luke Skywalker, you take responsibility for his crimes. And then walks out and he tells the commanding officer there, next time make sure it's actually him before you call me.
I was about to say, I love how he knew that it wasn't him.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is heavily implied from like the supplementary Vader comics that he actually knew before Episode 5 that he was Luke, his son.
Well, it's not even implied.
I was about to say, like, it is stated that he in Episode 5 that he knows he's his father.
Well, there's the scene from the Marvel comics where Boba Fett tracks down Luke after Vader hires him to find the pilot.
Oh yeah, I think that's how he finds out, right?
Exactly. And he just tells Vader, yeah, I got the pilot's name, Skywalker.
And then I remember he squeezes his hand and like crushes the window in front of him, as I recall.
Yeah, and then he just says it out loud to himself after Boba leaves. I have a son. And there's a moment where he's like really angry and he goes to call Palpatine about it. Oh yes, I can sense your anger over there, apprentice. Be sure you know your place. And as soon as the call ends, no, this isn't happening. He lied to me. He's got to go down.
Yes.
And that leads into the Dr. Aphra comics where he's building the secret empire inside of Palpatine's empire to overthrow him. That's the reason he does that.
Aphra was a good character before she got her own series.
Fair.
I was about to say, because I loved her droid companions, 000, who has to sound exactly like C-3PO, because that's a plot point. She paints him gold one time to trick Luke into a trap. So he has to sound exactly like her. And I love how he just talks like, well, I'd say it would even be Mark Hamill's Joker. Like, he's just like, oh, I do so love filleting the flesh off of my enemies. like he does, like he has to talk just like C-3PO because that trick wouldn't have worked. So I just hear that voice in my head when I'm reading this. I'm like, oh my god, this is perfect. Like, it is comedy. He's comedy gold if you read it in C-3PO's voice.
Maybe at some point we can go to a convention and get Anthony Daniels to read it.
Oh, that would be awesome if we got Anthony Daniels to read some 000 lines. Oh my goodness. So Finn definitely would be, in the heat of battle, able to use Mjolnir, and I'd say maybe like slightly move it around later in the series once he actually fully acclimates himself into the Resistance.
In hindsight, should we have had a scale of worthiness in there? Like we can just have like maybe a symbol to put on the screen for each verdict, like all worthy all the time, casually worthy, not even an inch. Somewhere in there.
How about we do that, and we're going to pretend we did that through the magic of editing! And just like, I don't know, maybe do like a freeze frame and just like ding, 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 ding. Like, so like, worthy in the heat of battle, worthy in the heat of battle, casual moving, full use all the time, full use all the time. So like, I'd say Luke was full use all the time, Leia was full use all the time.
Obi-Wan's casually moving it.
Casual use, but full use in battle, specifically in the Clone Wars, and we should probably make those distinctions too. Yoda is specifically after the Clone Wars.
And before that, he may get heat of battle.
Qui-Gon, I'd say, I forget, what was it?
I think he's worthy.
He's worthy. Okay, so full worthiness.
Mace doesn't even move it.
Mace attempts to, but like, so we'll put like a picture of Tony Stark on the screen.
Or now that I have Premiere Pro to edit things, I can do that. I can have that scene from Age of Ultron with Tony trying to lift it and then just superimpose Sam Jackson's face over it.
And like, can we like awkwardly put like his lightsaber in the background somewhere? Like just have have him holding his lightsaber too in the other hand. All right.
I mean, it's technically your lightsaber too, because that's the one we went with.
Oh right, that is my lightsaber. I was about to say, I'm just borrowing it, Sam. So Shakti, fully worthy. Definitely.
Shakti, fully worthy. Ahsoka, depending on when you use her, fully worthy.
Fully worthy.
If not casual.
I was about to say casual during the Clone Wars and pre-leaving the Jedi Order. Fully between Jedi Order and basically the end of Rebels, and then maybe casual movement afterwards. And then Finn, again, heat of battle and casual movement. Heat of battle for full, casual. And finally, we have arguably the most popular character in Star Wars.
I had nothing to do with this, by the way. This was all his idea.
And I will state my reasoning.
Okay.
I can't whistle right now. R2-D2.
Yes, I can't do it.
I was about to say, I tried to do it and I couldn't, and I apologize.
Same.
We're going to pretend this didn't happen. R2-D2. And before anybody says anything, Vision is fully animatronic and he can lift Mjolnir. Yes, R2-D2 has been there from the beginning, and he has proven time and time again his courage, his honor, and his aptitude. Like, let's face it, he knew about the secret of Darth Vader the entire time, kept his mouth shut for the good of the Republic, and he knew that he would get, he'd probably get into a lot of trouble if he let this slip casually, so he had to definitely keep that secret. And he knew about Obi-Wan the whole time. He had to get to Obi-Wan and get, the plans of the Death Star to him. And then, he's just been a casual friend to Anakin, to Luke, to Obi-Wan. He's just been there. Even in the sequel trilogy, he is still, actually has been used to actually help people. And and in terms of the heat of battle and like killing in the heat of battle and such, he has literally opened a storm drawer and like thrown an entire platoon of stormtroopers into space by himself.
And I feel like he also qualifies for a lot of the virtues of nobility. He's courageous. Honesty maybe in the middle, but there's a reason for that.
It's more not really lies. It's just like omission.
Exactly. So honor, fidelity. The droid loves nobody.
He loves nobody, but is friends with everybody.
Yeah.
Well, everybody who's good guys.
Discipline. I don't know. Probably. I mean, he's hanging around a lot of wars.
I was about to say he's been around a lot of wars, kept his cool. He's gone every task at hand. He's literally the Swiss Army knife of the Star Wars universe.
Hospitality, sure.
He was kind of rude to Yoda.
To be fair, I don't think he understood what Yoda was doing either.
Fair enough.
Just like when you just see this wise Jedi Master that you love and respect. You see him again for the first time in 20 years, and he's hitting you with a stick. Mine.
I was about to say, he had to have remembered him, right? And he's just like, what on earth has happened to you, man? Then, I was about to say, because Yoda actually gained worthiness in his old age, and R2 would, probably have worthiness. I just have this idea of them playing hot potato with Mjolnir, just, tossing it between them on that scene. Or maybe that's what they're fighting over. Mine! And then, he pulls it to him, and he's just like, mine!
If I remember to do this, I may just do that with Premiere Pro 2, just superimpose the
Mjolnir over that scene. Yes, we have to put this in there. Okay, so my question is, do you think he'd have full access to Mjolnir, or do you think it would be like a heat of battle, or just moving it, able to move it?
I feel like he'd be the casual.
Yeah, okay, casually moving, probably maybe in situations where he's saving his friends, he'd be able to use the full power, but other than that, just casual moving.
Mm-hmm. Imagine R2, because he already has that electric thing inside of him. Imagine him supercharging that with Mjolnir's lightning.
I was about to, oh crap, I had an idea about the lightning, and I completely forgot what I was going to use it for. And, okay, I was about to say, it'll come to me later. So yeah, I'd say, casual, point for casual moving, or in the case of protecting his friends, he would be able to use the full lightning.
Yes.
Alright, want to move on to our secret picks.
Alright, so.
Alright, you go first, you're the first pick, alright.
Alright, my first secret pick. Kyle Katarn.
All right, I'm not familiar with the character, so I'm gonna need to get some background. Maybe even for the casual listeners here who may not be fully inclined.
That's true. So Kyle Katarn is this fellow he's on Luke's Jedi Council in the new Jedi Order.
So this is an extended universe.
Yep. His backstory is that he was a stormtrooper who defected from the Empire And I feel like this is at least partially inspiring Finn's character arc.
I was about to say that. That's why I picked Finn for.
Yeah. And Kyle Katarn, he has this thing where starts as a stormtrooper, he becomes a mercenary, and then he joins the rebellion, and then he becomes a Jedi. And
wow, he's had a lot of careers.
Yeah, he's got a great resume too. He qualifies for the 9 virtues, in my opinion, and he has this idea in mind for his philosophy where no ability is inherently evil, it's how you use it. So he has full access to both the light side and the dark side, which is very interesting as a character.
This is the guy who has access to... Okay, I've heard of, like... I didn't know his name. I heard that there was a character like that.
I mean, there are a few characters like that. There's him, and then there's Revan, which is what most people are familiar with.
Oh, yeah, Darth Revan from the old Knights of the Old Republic game. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. All right, anything else to add, or?
Not particularly. Just...
All right, next for my secret pick number 1. Trooper 99.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like that idea.
I was about to say, like, and again, for the people who are not in tune to the Clone Wars, what are you doing? Watch the Clone Wars!
Absolutely.
No, 99, for those of you who don't know, is actually a deformed clone. He had something wrong with it. He had some defect, and he was going to be destroyed, but instead they made him a janitor of the Camino cloning facilities. And he is just the nicest dude, and he is so loyal to the Republic and what he wants to... He definitely embodies all 9 virtues, and he wants to nothing more than to save the Republic, and his sacrifice, man, is probably the saddest moment in any of the Star Wars, like one of the saddest, my personal saddest moments in the Star Wars series, where basically, even though he was hobbling, like, cause like basically he rapidly aged, that was like his main defect, that he was like an old man, like really quickly, and so he risked his life and ended up sacrificing his life when the cloning facility was under attack to get to the armory and get the weapons to his troopers in order to save them. And I forget what he was repeating a motto over and over. I believe it was something like "the good soldier follows orders," something like that. And that was just his dying words. And he managed to finally get the weaponry to the clone troopers in order to save the day at the cost of his own life. And that is actually why the Bad Batch is named Troop 99 in honor of him. So that is my opinion why that Clone Trooper 99 is worthy of the powers of Mjolnir. And I think he would be like the full access. I think he'd get full access.
That's a good pick, man.
All right.
My secret number 2. This Jedi Master by the name of Faye. Now, Faye is a person from the old expanded universe. She's this woman who was several centuries old, but she's used the Force to sustain her and keep her young and beautiful this whole time. And somewhere in the last couple centuries, she decided that she's not really up for the idea of war itself and just going out and fighting actively. So maybe she doesn't have quite that warrior spirit. You could make that argument, but she's just generally one of the kindest Jedi Masters in the Order. Obi-Wan himself once said of her, she resolved more conflicts than any other Jedi in the Order. Never drew her lightsaber once. I'm not even sure if she even had a lightsaber.
I did hear about this character. This is actually the first time getting full introduction to her.
She is unfortunately stabbed by Asajj Ventress.
Yeah, I heard that too. And I think like she saved Obi-Wan at the last second, right?
Yeah, she decided to use the last bit of her energy to just focus on getting Kenobi out of there instead of saving herself.
So I'd say she'd get full access as well to the
Absolutely.
powers.
If maybe she'd be like that casual person, and then in that heat of battle when she actually embraces her warrior spirit, maybe
that is true because she is more pacifist. So
exactly, she'd be
probably more casual.
Maybe she'd be the kind of person who wouldn't want to lift it because she doesn't want to be associated with battle.
That is a fair point, and that actually brings me to my secret number 2. If you're finished, a very similar vein, Yaddle. Let me guess. Did you pick Yaddle?
No, I didn't. That's.
Okay, I was about to say, because Yaddle, honestly, is the same vein. She was like this sweet grandmotherly character to the Padawans, and she died, I believe, between episodes 1 and 2. And she actually would, like give them sweets, and like she would be cool with like tiny little pranks that the younglings would pull during that. And mostly because of the story that I read called The One Below. Yaddle, The One Below. Basically, I think it was like one of her fresh days as a Jedi after done being a Padawan, and she went to this planet, and they actually had her captured, and they threw her into a pit, and she had just been there for I think like decades just trapped under there, and like the people just assumed she was this monster, so they would like callously throw the food in there that she needed to live, and she would just like constantly be berated even though nobody actually saw her. And then finally some giant earthquake actually cracked it open and devastated the entire town, and instead of, you know, having hatred in her heart for the people who kept her captive all these years, she went and she helped the survivors. It didn't matter. She still was an honorable Jedi, and I'd say again, like your reasoning that she honestly didn't really have much in terms of combat, but definitely that's how she died. She actually ended up saving Anakin's life, who was a Padawan at the time, and her sacrifice, and he actually blamed himself for her sacrifice. And I'd say, much like Faye, she would be just a casual user because she probably wouldn't be too interested in combat, but definitely 100% use it at the fullest capability for when somebody was attacking her friends. She would definitely use it in the heat of battle.
Agreed. My secret number 3. I feel like, yeah, this is the only Disney exclusive character that I have on my list. Canon Jaris.
From Rebels.
I know you haven't seen Rebels,
I
so I
not.
won't go into spoilers.
Just give like the cliff notes of.
Let me see here. He embodies all the virtues, and credit where credit's due. He's like the only Jedi protagonist who never touched the dark side at any point. Like even at a point where he thinks he's lost someone close to him, so he should be able to feel all that anger. He still just keeps his calm and continues his focus, so that you could argue that he was already more worthy in his early career than most of the people we've talked about on this list.
Fair enough.
Because, you know, Mace Windu just lives and breathes dark side. Obi-Wan tapped into it. Luke tapped into it. I feel like Leia tapped into it somewhere along in her career.
I think it was like an extended universe thing, but I'm not positive. Definitely her bloodline has kind of a history of the dark side. But yeah, the fact that he's probably the only Jedi, at least that we can really think of, especially even in Disney canon, that has not touched the dark side in the slightest, definitely makes him worthy in my eyes. So you'd think he'd be like full access to the power all the time?
I think so. I'd say for season 1, he's able to use it when he's in those low moments in the heat of battle. 2 to 3, he's casually lifting it, and by season 4, he's full-blown worthy. That's my opinion.
Okay, and now on to my secret number 3. The Starkiller clone from Force Unleashed 2.
Interesting.
I specifically picked the clone because, well, obviously the original duplicate, Darth, what was his name?
Well, he was just known by Starkiller.
He was known by Starkiller. I thought Starkiller was the clone, though. Like, what was his real name?
Galen Merrick.
Galen Merrick, yes. Galen, I guess, like, I like to differentiate, I'd say Garen Malik is Force Unleashed 1, and like I'd say Starkiller was Force Unleashed 2, because technically he wasn't Galen Merrick. Since he is it's ironic because we already talked about him, that he is the only clone of a Force wielder who hasn't completely been defected, and the fact that, despite the fact that he was like bred and mentally programmed to kill specifically enemies of the Empire, the fact that he broke his programming and knew about his original life as Galen Malik, specifically the later parts of his life where he was actually a good guy, actually makes me think that he is worthy of the thing. Maybe more specifically in the heat of battle, like he get like Yaddle, where he can use it casually, but then in the heat of battle use it. Especially, I gotta talk about the meme, the one that everybody talks about from this game. Your feelings for her are not real. They're real to me. Again, that scene actually kind of made me cement the fact that he actually is worthy of Mjolnir, and specifically even in the dark ending, because he's trying to kill Vader. And basically it's not necessarily that the anger takes over him, it's just maybe like Warrior's Madness, but especially the good ending, definitely the good ending of Force Unleashed 2, where he imprisons Vader and stands. Obviously, since we know Star Wars lore, that didn't last, even though we didn't actually see a follow-up. I
don't think we ever actually got a confirmed explanation for what happened to him and his master.
That is true. We never actually get confirmed, because Force Unleashed 3 never happened.
I assume he's self-eradicated at some point.
At some point. Yeah, definitely. All right, your number 4?
My number 4, I don't quite have a reason, just Bastila Shan. She's the love interest of Revan from KOTOR.
Well, one of the many possible love interests.
Yeah, but then they did the book where they were I want to say they were married in the book.
Okay, so like there actually is a canon. I was curious because it's, you know, an RPG, so like there's so many different words. I was wondering like what's canon to something like that.
I want to say that Satele Shan, the Grandmaster from the other game, is her great granddaughter.
Oh,
And that's partially why she's so powerful. You remember I showed you that trailer where she's got the double-bladed lightsaber and she catches Malgus's lightsaber and builds up the Force Repulse.
Yeah, the Force Repulse
to
and like
collapse the mountain.
that was awesome, by the way. It stinks that the game's animation isn't that good.
True.
Like they always do that, don't they? Like where the game trailers are way better looking than the game themselves.
But yeah, I feel like Bastila Shan she's brave, she's honest, she's got honor, discipline, and she's a very compassionate person. And I guess you could extend this and say that Satele Shan is kind of worthy too.
Probably. Through extension. Alright, anything else?
Nothing really comes to mind.
Okay, my number 4.
Yes.
Remember that thing I was laughing about earlier?
Yeah?
Okay, so my number 4 is a man by the name of Ilan Selsabagno. You probably wouldn't recognize the name at first, so let me tell you his other name, Ilan Sleazebagano. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I can see his face. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. For those who don't know, you be Obi-Wan in this situation. Hey, you want to buy some death sticks?
You do not need to sell me death sticks.
I don't need to sell you death sticks.
You wish to go home and rethink your life.
I wish to go home and rethink my life. Specifically the Disney canon version of him. And I will tell you why. Because he did. He went home, he rethought his life, he actually got his act together, he got a decent job, he met a woman, they had a daughter, and he cherishes her above all else.
This is all new information for me. You've just enlightened me, Nick.
Yes,
thank you.
This character became an awesome father and husband after that interaction with Luke, with Obi-Wan. Sorry, after that single interaction, because we were talking about how long the Force thing works. Clearly, it works forever. Because he actually did go home and rethink his life, and he actually became a great husband and father.
How did they connect that to anything?
I forget why. I remember it was like a Leia story that happened, and it's just him, and he's like, "All right, come on, sweetie, let's go." And like he's got his daughter on his shoulders, and he is arm in arm with his wife. And
I can't believe the Death Sticks guy got an actual happy
Yes,
ending, and Anakin still lost his family.
He got a legitimately happy ending, and I was about to say. So honestly, I think he now does all the virtues, and he actually did specifically says thank the Force later in the comic. So he actually does believe in the Force, probably from his interaction with Obi-Wan, and that actually impressed his life. He must have realized later that he was a Jedi. And he just was like, well, I actually really have to thank that Jedi for allowing me to have a nice... I wouldn't say he had full access, maybe like in the heat of battle, but like...
He's just casually moving it.
At the very
least.
Maybe in the heat of battle. Maybe, but like he's not very combative actually. So you know what, maybe just casual movement. Because he just seems like a really cool guy now, and he's not really... He's not really interested in war or negativity of any kind. He's just a family man who is happy that he is a family man. So I'd say casual movement. All right, you're number 5.
All right, my number 5, and I have a couple other characters that I thought of while we were in this discussion. I may mention them briefly.
Okay, honorable mentions at the end then.
Yeah, my number 5, and I'm honestly surprised we didn't have him on the list actually. Plo Koon.
That's my number 5.
Oh my god, really?
Okay, this saves time in the editing.
It certainly does. All right.
Okay, we'll just both talk about him.
All right.
Okay, you go first. It was your number.
Plo Koon is this... For one, he's probably one of the only Jedi who actually cares about following the code, but also being a decent human being on the Jedi Council.
And I think that just comes from his species, as I recall. Like, they're just, like, naturally inviting to people. I think they said that it's because their planet is between 2 black holes, so, like, they constantly are inviting people into their homes to weather storms, and that just kind of carried over in their nature.
Points for hospitality.
Indeed. That's exactly why I brought this up.
Let me think. There are some specific scenes that I know of Plo Koon that seem to work really well. There's that scene of him being in space with the clone troopers. Mm-hmm. Was that what you were gonna bring up too?
I was gonna bring that up too.
Okay.
All right, I'll be the clones.
Why are you so sure that the Republic isn't coming back for us?
Well, to be honest, there were clones. We're expendable.
Not to me.
That's actually what solidified him for me. Oh, plus the fact that he actually has lightning. What was it called?
Electric Judgment.
Electric Judgment. Yeah, he already has lightning. He can just power the hammer even more.
You know, the council kind of had a whole confrontation with him about it, but he mentioned this isn't a dark side power because I feel no aggression while using it. This is just a new thing that we can work with. Had they expanded on that in the sequel trilogy, I would have been okay with Rey using it. Maybe that's on the holocron that she had, and we could even have like a scene with Luke explaining it, just to show how far he's come too.
So he knows about the power.
That would be nice.
Yes.
In the old expanded universe, he just used straight force lightning.
That is true. That's because like it ties in with Dark Empire, and he just had to learn. Like basically, he learned dark side abilities in order to better become a Jedi. I guess. I forget the exact reasoning. It was something along those lines.
I don't think he's ever actually used it, but I know one of the books credited him with having Shatterpoint, the power that Mace Windu used.
Oh yeah, the thing where you can touch an object and like basically explode it.
Kind of. The idea is that through the Force you can sense weak points and exploit them.
That's what it was. Oh yeah, because there was that awesome scene from the 2D Clone Wars where he was fighting all those battle droids and like punching them in all the right spots and with Force enhanced punches and like destroying robots.
The novelization actually brings up that Mace used Shatterpoint to disarm Darth Sidious, and he could see his way through this outcome. He was just too angry to follow it all the way through, because he senses a great amount of fear, and he jumps at it like, oh, I've got Palpatine on the ropes now. And then he disarms him, and then he realizes way too late, oh crap, that wasn't Palpatine's fear, that was Anakin.
Yeah, and I did love the fact that Palpatine thought he could handle Mace Windu in a lightsaber combat and just greatly overestimated him, but he knew for a fact that he was not going to win in a lightsaber battle with Yoda. He kept trying to keep him at a distance the whole battle.
True. You know, in the original script for 3, it specifically mentioned that Yoda disarmed him. That's why when we cut back to him in the middle of that Obi-Wan Anakin confrontation, Yoda still has his lightsaber, Palpatine doesn't.
Why did they delete that scene?
I don't know. At least it would have shown the people at least that Yoda's a better lightsaber duelist, because everyone just... There's so many people that just irritate me in the fandom. They're like, oh, look at that. Mace Windu defeated Palpatine, and Palpatine defeated Yoda, so that means Mace Windu is more powerful than Yoda. Yammer. My friend Antoine Bandelet did an analysis of that whole battle, and I'm going to put that in the description. I know I've put it in a few of my video links before. I just really like recommending it to people because it encapsulates everything. The books, the movies, the comics, anything about that scene. He just explores it and comes up with a concrete solution for the problem.
Yeah, makes sense. It's just interesting, and yeah, Plo Koon definitely. Just he's probably one of the most hospitable and nice Jedi. He's just nice. He's just one of the few truly nice Jedi. I'd say he gets full power, like of
absolutely.
And because he's just virtuous and probably the kindest Jedi in the Order. He always like. I was about to say they specifically say his species is like very black and white when it comes to judgment, but they precious human life above all else.
Did we say Shakti was worthy? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think we just said that Shakti like got full access to everything.
Either that or the casual. I know the two of them were close friends throughout their lives.
All right, if we didn't say full access, we'll say it now. Full access for both of them.
That'd be an awesome scene. It'd be like the thing with Thor and Cap trading the hammer, and
you get the little one. I get the. I don't know. Maybe I'd say Shakti would use that line. I was about to say I don't see Plo Koon I'd see Plo Koon accepting like okay I'll take a little one. That's not.
They both do it.
So I'd say they'd both accept that. Like they'd probably just do like a Mr. No, you take it. Yeah. No, I insist after you. I insist.
Well, I mean, theoretically, in this situation, only Mjolnir shown up. So just the idea of them tag teaming, passing the hammer to each other through the battle. Oh, kind of like that thing with Steve and Bucky hitting Tony with the shield.
I know, that would be awesome. I actually had this idea. Back to Luke, who was our first thing. Just that scene from The Mandalorian. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Him with the lightsaber in the left hand, Mjolnir in the other, going through, casually tossing that hammer, smashing a bunch of the dark troopers, getting the lightsaber with the ones in the back, shooting lightning from the saber, or shooting lightning from the hammer, just...
Do you think the Jedi could summon the hammer faster than Thor could with the arm because they have telekinesis?
If they're worthy, they already have the telekinesis, so it probably would be faster. I'd say like if him and Thor got in a tug of war, Luke would probably win just because he's got the Force. Now I want video of this. Now I want like an animation or something of this. Just
Let's hope we get a lot of views on this.
Hopefully. All right, and that was our secret number 5. You want to get your honorable mentions out of the way?
There was one that I thought of while we were discussing this. I think Aayla Secura could be worthy. A lot of people don't really think about her much, just because they just think of her as, like, the hot Jedi from the background. But she has some genuinely interesting stories behind her. Like, what is it? So, there's this specific feature, the clone troopers giving their account of Order 66 and what happened. And there's a specific testimony from the commander from her troops. I think his name's Captain Bly or something. But Bly specifically mentions Aayla Secura was the one that gave us all hope when we all needed it most. She was the one who kept us all together, inspired us to move forward.
Oh, and that's why, like, the clone troopers hesitated when they shot her in episode 3, right?
And the saddest part is they specifically mention, and this was old canon, so they had the orders a good while before they actually did it and killed her. When she was saying something really nice to them beforehand, like, all right, after this is done, we all get to go home. And he mentions, not a single one of us could look her in the eye, because we knew what we had to do. That is sad.
That is really sad. Although, I'm going to be honest, I prefer the chip in the brain. I prefer that explanation, if you don't mind.
That's fair.
It's just that, like, really, they're all individuals. They all automatically decided that all the Jedi were bad just because, like, some obviously evil dude told them.
You're right.
I was about to say, because, like, we have long established that clones are their own people. They're not just clones of Jango Fett. They are definitely their own, each and every individual clone is their own person. So I highly doubt the entire clone army, just because of an order, would turn on the Jedi. Like, not all of them would. If it was just an order.
Well, some of them did.
Oh, I do remember that. There is canon stuff about that.
And even in the expanded universe, there were a couple of clones who just couldn't go through with it.
And there are some who hated the Jedi from the beginning. You know, the one that teamed up with Vader later because he was shot out. Like, I think it was, like, around episode 2 where he literally was shot out of a helicarrier. And he was... A helicarrier? Not a
The helicarrier!
I was about to say... How awesome would it be if the MCU crossed over with original trilogy Star Wars? But, no, he was shot out of one of the the ones that open up on both sides.
Yeah.
And he was shot up, and he just hated the Jedi because he actually had experience. No, it had to have been after episode 2 because they were already in the middle of the war. Because he specifically said that the Jedi were not competent generals, and that's why he drew himself to Darth Vader. And then when he realized, oh crap, he's actually a very bad person. Like, my favorite part of that comic is because he was actually, like, well, he believed he was friends with Vader, and Vader actually viewed him as a confidant. And when they were stopping this one rebel base, he basically just said, surrender, you are beaten. And,
I remember that. That's that scene with all the injured veterans.
Yeah, and the one of them had the exact same injuries as Vader, one arm only, both legs and one arm missing. He specifically made himself stand up to defy kneeling before Vader. And then he literally just killed everybody in the medbay. And the clone trooper is just like, stop! And then Vader stops, and he's like, oh no, he actually heard it. And then he realizes something because he goes back to killing after that. And he's just like, he didn't stop because he heard me and I asked him to stop. He stopped because he was trying to figure out who he was going to kill next. So he got out of there. He got out of that situation, and he hit on some Blackwater planet, and he like lives the rest of his life in fear of Vader coming back and getting him.
I really wish that this character could have interacted with Luke at some point. Speaking of which, at the end of Rebels, in the closing epilogue, somebody mentions Rex partook in the Battle of Endor, which means somewhere in there, Captain Rex heard that there was a General Skywalker leading the charge. What did he say? What conversation is there?
I need to see this story now!
There's already that fan art online of the comic with Luke meeting Ahsoka for the first time and her breaking down crying when she discovers that Anakin repented in the end and redeemed himself. What did Rex have to say about any of this? Did he even know that Vader was Anakin?
I don't think Ahsoka told him.
Well, I don't think they ever talked again after... Oh, right, sorry, you haven't seen Rebels.
I was about to say, I know that they meet up again in Rebels, but that's about it.
Right.
Because I know I saw the picture, with him on the desert planet with him and the beard, and I was about to say, because I was curious, because I knew that happened, this is before the final season of Clone Wars that this aired, and I'm like, so does that mean he believed Fives and took the chip out? But apparently that's not what happened. Spoilers for the final season. I was about to say, like, because that was my headcanon before I saw that episode. Like, he believed 5s, and that he found it in his head and had it removed.
I gotta ask, though, there were 3 clones that day. Granted, the rebellion only wanted Rex recruited, but what was it? I think it's Gregor and Wolf who were also there.
Yeah.
So clearly they weren't present for the Ahsoka battle because Rex was the only clone survivor that day.
Yep.
So does that mean that they were part of the 501st that invaded the Jedi Temple? Would they have said no and walked away?
I don't know. Clearly, so they never actually explained where they got their chips removed, or if they even did.
Exactly.
I mean, I think maybe they might explain something in the Bad Batch, because I feel like they're gonna, like... My headcanon for the Bad Batch, because I know they're, like, Tarkin's hit squad, but I don't know if they're going after Jedi.
You know, that does release today.
Oh, that releases today?
Yeah, May 4th. They specifically did it for Star Wars Day.
Oh my god! Oh, I am watching this when I go home. Is it like an episode by episode thing, or is it?
I don't know. I just know that it premieres today.
Oh, I am going home and I am watching this.
We gotta wrap up first, though.
Okay, we gotta wrap up. Okay, so in short, a lot of Jedi, in theory, are worthy of Mjolnir. Not necessarily the full power, but just, you know, the Jedi code. However, they did eventually become like kind of negative parodies of themselves during the war. But obviously, there are a few purely good Jedi that truly get to full power of Mjolnir. Luke, Leia, I think we said
Ahsoka,
Shakti definitely, Plo Koon definitely, and I think we said Faye, but like she probably wouldn't use the combat. And Faye and Yaddle,
she just wouldn't want it.
I was about to say they wouldn't want Faye and Yaddle wouldn't want the full combat experience. Well, that was a very fun thought exercise. Thank you so much for inviting me here, and May the 4th be with everybody listening. Even if this is not May 4th that you're listening this on, it doesn't matter because the 4th be with you always.
Yep, that's as good a closing as any, I guess. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we will talk to you on another day.
Oh,
Bye.
We'll find something awesome to talk about next time. Bye!
I know we told the people last time that you're still not caught up on My Hero Academia yet. If you ever do manage to finish it, we should talk about My Hero Academia characters doing Mjolnir.
That is true.
All Might and Midoriya would be a fascinating discussion.
Yes, I was about to say I need to finish the series first. I will finish the series eventually.
You're still Sports Festival, right?
Yep.
All right. Memo to me, put this into the video, see what the public thinks.
I promise I will eventually watch the series. I will eventually go past the sports arc. I will figure it out. I have a lot on my plate right now. Oh, you should watch blah blah blah. Oh, you should watch Death Note. You should watch My Hero Academia. You should watch Stranger Things. You should.
I never said Stranger Things. Even I haven't watched that.
No, I was about to say that was Brian. I was about to say it's between. It's a person whose name might not be able to go in the video.
I mean, we can text him and ask him.
We can text him and ask him, but just like in case. Just in case. Calvin my bases. I'm getting this in the audio track so we have it on record.
You know, earlier I posted a thing this morning while I was thinking about Mjolnir, and I posted on my Facebook page this morning, Sheriff Andy Taylor is worthy of Mjolnir, fight me. and then our other mutual friend, our DJ friend, he commented, he said, I believe that Barney would be worthy too. That would be interesting discussion.
Interesting. Alright, unfortunately I might have to leave, so.
Alright.
But